Elizabeth pulled up in the driveway at Gray Sky Ranch. She had driven her husband's Toyota, and Dylan would be riding out with his parents at a later date. Liz had decided to come out early to help Sarah prep for Christmas. Considering the meal itself was planned to take several days to prepare, and then they needed to finish decorating, and the last-minute gifts to pick up and wrap. She always left Karen and Roger's gifts till last minute. They were always so uppity it was hard to choose until forced. As Liz stepped out of the little white car, she was almost instantly greeted by a pair of large white dogs, wagging about, ferociously sniffing both she and the car. They could smell the cats in their carriers in the back seat. Suddenly, Sarah was there, appearing at Elizabeth's side with a twinkling. With her hands on her hips, Sarah gave the dogs a knowing look, and after a brief moment of hesitation, they took off for their doghouse in the backyard. With the dogs, more like baby hippos, occupied, Sarah turned on Liz and proceeded to do her best to squeeze what little oxygen there was out of her lungs. "I missed you," Sarah muttered. "I missed you, too," Liz groaned but smiled. "Air." She tapped Sarah's shoulder and was gratefully released. Just then, one of the cats, irritated over being ignored and cooped up, let out an obnoxious yowl. The girls burst out laughing and set to work unloading the car into the house. Besides the cats, Elizabeth had brought several cans of cranberry sauce, gluten-free stuffing supplies, the means to make gluten-free cookies, salmon for baking in homemade butter, and, of course, her favorite Jewish cookbook, just in case. Sarah spotted the book and grinned before quickly pursing her lips. Her stomach was growling like a beast. Liz shot her a wry glance while picking up the second box of groceries out of the trunk, since Sarah already had the first one in her arms. They carried the boxes toward what looked like a giant Viking tent, crossed with a Dutch-style cabin, mostly cream with dark-colored wood trim bracing the heavy tarp to the frame underneath. The structure was supported at the apex by a single heavy beam, set atop a number of thick, darkly stained posts. The ends of the building featured a clear plastic layer, and the insulated layer had been pulled back like a curtain to reveal the interior, which held a pair of potted evergreens already festooned with lights and baubles. "You raised all of them yourself, didn't you?" Liz asked, pointing at the evergreens with her chin as they walked through the stout wooden door that was set in one of the window walls. The door in question closed, silently and of its own accord, behind them. "Oh yes," Sarah replied, as she ushered Liz toward the kitchen counter. "I even sprouted them myself. Unfortunately, about half the seeds that sprouted didn't make it. There are 4 more besides these 2. They're planted outside, though," Sarah happily babbled. "I wish I had a green thumb," Liz groused as she set the box she had brought in on the counter. "But as soon as I get a plant home and put it down somewhere, it seems to start wilting. Next thing you know, my daisies are pushing up daisies." Sarah chuckled as she placed her own burden on the counter. "Yeah, but you're still better at the whole homemaking, cooking, everyday health stuff than I am," she said. Liz laughed and smiled. It was true that Sarah had always been more boyish, while she herself had always been a bit more feminine. Mind you, she could still keep up with anybody, she thought to herself. After all the yoga and tai chi and time at the gym, she should definitely be able to. Moments later, Sarah was giving Liz a brief, rather brief, considering it was only 3 rooms, tour of the house. The walls were a thick, insulated fabric, held to the frame by strips of wood trim. The door they had stepped through entered into a combination kitchen and dining room. The kitchen portion was built into an inner wall, with open shelving and a wrought iron baker's rack, outfitted with a butcher block counter and a wash basin-style sink. There was also an island with a propane stove and retro turquoise mini-fridge set in it, with plenty more counter and bar space on top. The dining table sat closer to the window, and in true Sarah fashion, it was shaped like a coffin with coordinating chairs like small thrones set around it. Past the kitchen was the bathroom, which was surprisingly well appointed, with a dresser and hanging rod to one side, and a composting toilet and freestanding trough-style tub on the other. According to Sarah, what it lacked in convention, it made up for in charm and serviceability. Through the bathroom, which could be curtained off on both sides to become a corridor, they entered the living room/bedroom/studio space. A comfortable room, set with a futon, whose mattress was encased in black fur, and that folded out into a queen-sized bed. It also featured a pair of large stones that served as end tables, a decent-sized flat-screen TV, a desk placed in front of the large window, open shelving on the opposite wall. A wood-burning stove was tucked into one corner. There was also a wood stove tucked into a corner of the kitchen. They were used to heat the house during winter. "This is amazing," Liz breathed as she gazed around the room. "Thank you," Sarah responded, as they walked back to the kitchen, passing one of the evergreens, and came to stand by the kitchen stove, that currently held a cheery blaze within its metal belly. They gazed out the window for a moment, warming their backs at the fire. Suddenly, Sarah did a little hop and gave a squeak, surprising Liz, before turning to face her with waggling eyebrows. "Since Finley is on a fishing trip before it snows, and Dylan and the in-laws won't be here for another few days, and we're here by ourselves." Sarah trailed off, still wiggling with excitement. "Girls' time?" Liz giggled, nodding subconsciously. It had been a while since they had stayed up way too late, binging TV and ice cream together. No stress and no responsibilities, at least for a little while. After the cats had been brought in, with what is essentially a kiddie playpen set up for them, and Liz had managed to snag herself a change of clothes and was headed off to the shower, Sarah set to work on dinner. About an hour later, they were curled up on the futon, wearing comfy pajamas, holding dishes of pan-fried tilapia with herb-buttered rice, giggling over "I Love Lucy." "You know what this reminds me of?" Liz asked Sarah as they watched Lucy cavort about on screen in a chicken costume. "What's that?" Sarah asked, taking a sip from one of the goblets of sweet tea that had appeared, one each, on the stone-end tables. She had long gotten used to the beings, moving around her and effectively affecting her life, yet invisible to most. Elizabeth knew enough about it not to be alarmed. This Easter, Karen decided to surprise everyone with a visit from the Easter Bunny. Liz trailed off for a moment, color rising in her cheeks over the memory. Except she didn't hire anyone. "Well, apparently she decided I would do it," Liz replied indignantly. "Without asking me, let alone even talking to me." Sarah made a face, her eyebrows raised and her mouth making a pinched line. "I know," Elizabeth continued. "How can she even think that was okay? It's disrespectful. That thing was heavy, and we were in the middle of a heat wave, and everything was happening outside." "Wow," Sarah muttered. "She's delusional." "She's always thought she was in charge and in control," Liz ranted. "She even tried to stop me after I refused and went to grab my purse and leave." Sarah started grinning as she caught the look in Elizabeth's eyes. "That didn't go very well for her, did it?" Liz looked sheepish for a moment. "I may have smeared her new blouse with hard-boiled Easter egg and then stormed out," she blurted. "Dylan found me buckled in the car ready to go," she finished. The girls looked at each other, and then both of them burst out laughing, imagining Karen in her Easter-egged best. The rest of the night was spent on laughing and smiling, and before they knew it, it was 3 a.m. They had gone through several episodes of I Love Lucy and part of Season 1 of Bewitched, and if we're honest, a whole pint of Dutch chocolate ice cream, before they decided to call it a night.